Hello, everybody. I'm sorry for missing you this morning. I just have a really bad headache, and I'm starting to feel a little bit better, and so I wanted to film this video that I've been promising you for a while. So basically, I just want to help you get with a few. I want to help you with a few little tricks that will help you to do the lab number 2. And probably the biggest issue with lab number 2 is that the data, the categorical variables of gender and general health in our data are coded variables, which basically means that they use numbers to stand in for the labels. Now, why would they do that? Probably because when you're entering data, it's a lot easier to and less error prone to enter in the number 2 and the number 1, or the number 3 and number 2, than trying to type in excellent, very good, good, fair, and poor all the time. But it kind of messes a little bit with our tools it messes with our tools. So overall, I'm going to skip over making the first graph. That's a histogram. If you need to figure out how to make a histogram using Google Sheets and change things like bin widths and stuff like that, then please go back to the announcement that I made. I think it was sometime last week or so. I said histogram video, I think, in the title, and so you can actually see the snippets of the class where we talked about making histograms. So what I am going to cover, though, is how to make a well-labeled pie chart, and another trick to do the last particular histogram and the last comparative bar chart. Okay, so here's the basic trick is they did this coding where they said every time we see a 1 there, it's a male. Every time we see a 2, it's a female. And they also did coding for the health, how people felt. They said 1 was excellent, 2 was very good, 3 was good, 4 was fair, and 5 was poor. And so what I did is I just wrote those down right there just to remind myself exactly how the coding works. And really what I'm going to do, just to give you a summary, is we're going to use our pivot tables just like we always have to do the counting for us. And then we're going to kind of duplicate the table with the proper labels so that the pie chart and our bar charts end up with the right labels. So first, to start off with, I'm going to go ahead and highlight the entirety of the data. Now, this is definitely data that's long enough that you want to use the shift trick. And basically, the shift trick is highlight up here, that top corner, go all the way to the bottom, hold the shift key before you press this bottom corner, and then the entirety of the data will be highlighted. Okay, cool. So now I'm going to enter in a pivot table, and so I think the first thing they want us to do is just summarize the general health in a pie chart. So I'm going to insert a pivot table into the existing sheet, anywhere, and I'm going to create that. And then just like we did with our pivot tables in class, I'm just going to select the general health as my rows, and then values do general health. And once again, it doesn't really exactly matter exactly what you pick for values, but I like to pick the same variable just in case of items that don't have entries and stuff like that, I think can mess you up. All right, so all I'm going to do is basically just take these labels right here that I made. Notice how I made them kind of in the same order, starting from 1 down to 5. And I'm just going to paste them down here, or you can type them in. Excellent, very good. Just make sure they're in the same order as the table over here, so these match. And I'm going to go ahead and title that General Health. Okay, and then I'm going to type in frequency. Okay, and then what we're going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and highlight this, copy it. So Control C, and then Control V right there. And basically what I've done is just made a new table. But I'm using the power of the pivot table to actually do all the counting and everything like that. And I'm just making a new table that has the proper labeling. I think this is definitely the best way to do it. If you're a spreadsheet master and you know better ways, then feel free. I am perfectly okay with that. But once again, this is the way I've thought to do it. And then now when we go here, now when we make our pie chart, it now is labeled more correctly. Now you're still going to have to change things like the overall title and all that kind of stuff like that. So, all right, cool. All right, so the next thing that we want to do is we want to make that two-way table where they're comparing the different genders. And, once again, I'm just going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to highlight everything. Okay, hold shift, go down like that, go back up, go to my data, go to pivot table, existing sheet. Once again, I guess you can actually copy that general health one over there because it already has the right data highlighted, but I already started. And now here, I'm going to go ahead and pick gender for my rows. And what that will do is that will create the two bars. It will basically split the bars by gender, which is, I think, what you want to do. And then I'm going to pick my columns to be general health. And then I'm going to go ahead and pick general health as the second variable. Now, we're making comparison of two groups that are of different sizes. Females actually outnumber males. So just like in class, we're going to go ahead and take the percent of the row because we're comparing the percent of males that feel a certain way to the percent of females that feel a certain way. And now I'm just going to do, basically the exact same thing that I did before, but now I'm going to add male and female to this list right here. Okay, and then up here, I'm going to put those titles that match. So excellent, and then very good, then good, then I believe it's fair, looking at that, and then poor. Okay, and I'm just making the labels what I want, and then I'm just going to really copy this in just to match. And remember, you don't really need the grand totals because they're not really relevant to what you're doing anyway. And now when I go to select this right here, and I go to insert a chart, ta-da! I might have to pick a column chart if it tries to pick something else for you. But notice how everything is nice and well labeled. And that wouldn't really necessarily happen if you were doing this with just the pivot table. Okay, now the last trick, okay, that I want to show you guys, and I'm only going to kind of briefly show this for you, is they ask you to make a histogram comparing the ages. So they want you to make a histogram of ages, but comparing the ages of people who felt good, excellent, very good, or good, and compare that to people who feel fair or poor, okay, to try to see if there's a difference. So to do this, you're actually going to make two charts. Okay, you're going to make two different histograms. But the big question is, how do you make the histogram that only contains people who feel, good and people who feel poor? And so here's how I would do it. And once again, this is like totally like up to you guys. If you have a quicker way of doing this, I'm all ears. But I'm going to select all the data again. Okay. Then I'm going to come up here, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to sort this range of values that I got. Now you want to pick sort range rather than sort sheet, just because sort sheet will sort all the tables that you've already created and all this kind of stuff like that. You don't want to do that. You want to just sort what you've highlighted. So I'm going to sort range. This data does have a header, and that gives me kind of a nice name right here. And I'm going to just sort by the general health. Okay. Now, why does sorting by general health do what we want? Well, if you notice here, now all the people who had 1 are first in the table, and it sorted this row. So these are still the same. And so now to make all the good feeling people, I just have to start up here, highlight the age, and then just scroll down until we get to, I believe, the number 4. So the first 4 I see is where I'm going to stop. Okay, so there's the first 4 right there. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight that. Okay, and then you just highlight the rest of it or sort it in the opposite order to get the people who felt poor. Okay, and so I make a histogram out of that, and that's something that I'll allow you to try to figure out. But that's my couple hints that I think should be able to get you through the graphs you have to create. If you have any other questions, feel free to email me, manarsd@smccd.edu. And looking forward to seeing everybody in class tomorrow on Wednesday. All right. Good luck.